Hi guys, election days in the US. Tomorrow, German election is coming up. What is gonna happen? Will the AfD gonna kind of really push momentum in the German Bundestag further? How about the Christian Democratic guys, the Social Democrats? In general, it seems to be that the right-wing party around the AfD is gonna potentially move on further. However, the coalition or any potential coalition with that party might be not what's gonna happen in regards at least to all the other parties in the German Bundestag. That still might cause momentum and positivity in general for the euro thereafter, at least the election days, and the German DAX is what we should examine and check out how this one goes. So welcome to the weekly outlook here for next week. Looking at data, well, the election we talked about, federal election in general, but we had quite a bit of data, not super important, however, with quite some motivation in order to move markets, or with a potential in order to move markets this week. Consumer confidence in the US, that's gonna be important. The biggest economy in the world, in the US, is gonna be driven, or is driven, by consumer demand, by consumer spending their money, and hence obviously the consumer confidence, how much confidence they have basically is moving or having a chance to move the US dollar as well as the general market in the US. The euro had been gearing up some steam, and the US dollar basically lost some momentum against other currencies. Let's stay with the euro for now. That market had kind of traded above the 50 moving average. We have tested this area quite a few times, and now it seems that upside momentum might continue, and the positivity here in the euro, or say the weakness in the dollar, is going to be interesting, as the long-term trend was showing up obviously something opposite here. But the market momentum here, in this case sideways trading box, might be the reason why the upside could be basically up and running. Consumer prices in Australia. The question is now, will the Australian dollar also move to higher levels? If we are looking at consumer prices, we should obviously as well focus on the Australian dollar. The Aussie, as it's called, had moved positively, and the upside potential in the Australian dollar might be a reason to cause the greenback to push higher. Let's look at the chart. Here, the Aussie dollar against the US dollar might, at least above the 64 area, continue with its upside, and if that's gonna happen, then we see the 50 moving average might be the next line of resistance. 64.70 thereabout might be a reason for the upside to continue, or might offer opportunity to this market to continue. The lower price sentiment here, the bottom, this double bottomish area, is one of the key takeaways why the upside is going to be potentially a reason for upside momentum. Here, what we can see is so far that those areas here have been acted, or had acted, as a resistance, and now the market is just simply as well staying put at around this area. So might expect some weaker reading here earlier next week, starting Monday, before the market might kind of resume upside potential. The next important topic obviously is the market in the US, as obviously markets in America kind of might offer a further sentiment change, right? And that change might come in regards to the news we have. We have GDP data which is coming up. GDP had been obviously rather something which is kind of looking as a backward looking indicator, but if it's going to be stronger and acting positive, this could move the US dollar as well. Plus, unemployment claims kind of playing hand in hand on Thursday this week could be something which are really going to be positive for the greenback again. And if you're looking now at the chart and pick the pound against the US dollar, we see that again the market had been really bound to higher price levels. The upside momentum is again above the 50 moving average. And what about if we see a retracement to the downside? Then we could maybe see that the cards are being reshuffled again. That area might offer an interesting X factor here if and where the 50 moving average continues to come into play. The market's falling prices might kind of cause upside or another uplift, and hence we could see that if this zone is not broken, the market is going to continue to the upside, which is what I would favor, by the way, or we might see that downside potential is going to be up and going to continue this price levels here, which could be a reason for the market sentiment to fall in this case further. We got also figures in this case which might kind of help us to guide momentum even further, and those this array of data basically coming on that's on Friday. Friday's data in the US, Friday's US data basically, and that's the PCE consumer price deflator. That figure is going to be important as a guidance for the central bank, for the Federal Reserve. PCE price expenditures, those are this is the data which is basically being used for the goods and services mainly driven towards consumers, right? So again, similarly to what we've just talked about as the previous figure we just checked on here right now from the US in terms of the GDP data as well as the unemployment claims figure. This could kind of drive the market momentum here quite substantially. PCE deflator, PCE price index, if it's going to rise again, and that's what we've seen. January, December figure, December lower, but January's figure had kind of increased again. And if we see another increase on a monthly basis here now in February, well, that's the January data, obviously, which we're going to digest here right now. This could be something where the Federal Reserve is going to remain on hold with any potential rate adjustments. No rate cut might be on the cards until further notice, and that's what could be negative for the market sentiment if we are looking at into the stock market index. So let's look at the S&P 500. So if that one is going to continue to the upside, we might see positive motivation, right? But the market, and basically last week, had ended in quite some bearish territory. And now we see that there's a certain shift in markets and in investor sentiment on the way. US tech companies, right? Name them. Microsoft showing bearish signs on the weekly chart. Nvidia, slight corrective pattern. You name them. Magnificent Seven, all those big companies from the US face potentially at least profit taking. Whether this is enough to justify a correction might be the big question. However, if we are looking forward, where to then invest your money in? There is one answer potentially at least, and that's coming from from China, and vice versa from Hong Kong. The Hang Seng Tech Index was building up a super cool cup and handle formation. That's a cup, as if you would think about, there's the handle which you hold basically with your filled coffee, cappuccino, whatsoever. If this neck or resistance line is being broken, off to the races. And that's exactly, check it out online, that's basically like a textbook charting pattern here, what has been happening. No retest of this breakout may be expected, but a bit of a correction could be expected. However, that might be to get maybe yourself into cheaper entry opportunities. But last but not least, the prices and the market sentiment could be up and could be due to continue, which similarly basically, and you guys know it obviously, kind of name those companies are going to happen. Alibaba being one of them, quite interesting here. Baidu, also something maybe worth a consideration, still pretty much undervalued, still pretty much offering further chances depending on how and what you think about technology, AI and whatnot from Asia, made in China. Say there might be further positivity in those markets. Guys, that's the general takeout here, or takeaway here. We have this upcoming week in terms of news events. Obviously, no week is going to be ending without talking about the crypto markets. Let's start with Bitcoin. The Bitcoin market had not really moved higher. Again, I'm still standing with my rather kind of bearish stand here. Bitcoin started and resumed assumed upside, but above the 100,000, 110,000, the market was finding a bit of an end here. We have crossed this pin bar candlestick, yet only for a short while. Now the market potentially rather on the weaker side of things. US tech slightly weaker, crypto markets similarly quite often follow suit. Ethereum, well, I'm in my long position. I'm going to keep this. I entered kind of quite at these low figures, so not overly bad here. But looking at XRP, we see that also the market is still back towards the 50 moving average. And this has often been helping out, can't see it much here, has been often recently helping out as a guidance. Anything above, buy, anything below, rather sell, and that's now what we might see here. The market remains in a shaky pattern, and to me it's still too much overvalued here. I would rather see a correction first before re-entering. Spoiler, I'm in a long position in Solana. This one has not been doing anything much so far. It might still offer corrective momentum. Any of the lower areas, and I said and talked about it in the past, at maybe somewhere here like the monthly chart whatsoever is 50 moving average, I would look for entry opportunities and buying this market again. I have about a third of a regular long position, so for me, if the market corrects further, doesn't matter much. Everything I have in my portfolio is currently up and staked, so let's leave this as a potential long-term trade. Guys, happy trading. That's it for the week so far. For my outlook for my session, leave your comments below the video if you have any questions in that regard. We're gonna do some updates basically next week. German election is one of the key takeaways. The war in the Ukraine. Donald Trump, as he stated beforehand, is gonna bring at least Putin potentially back to the table. Now criticism is mounting. Why is he not talking also and bringing further the Europeans as well as Zelensky on the table? But honestly, by all means, I really agree as well. You guys had a ton of time and so many years to kind of find and suggest a potential end of the situation. So he's going to talk with Putin. And if there's any sort of outcome with less killing, it should be good, right? So let's expect and hope for the best. Obviously, everything Trump does is only for his own good interest. American first, that's what he stands for. I don't need to agree with what he does, but let's examine if at least the killing can be stopped. It'll be good for us and for the planet and for the peacekeepers. Peace, guys. Stay tuned, stay focused, enjoy trading. Don't make it complicated. Keep it simple, and talk to you back next week. All the best to you guys. See you then. Take care. Have a good remaining weekend, and bye-bye.